Namaste. So grateful for you, grateful to know you. Thank you for coming to my raw uncut video series where we get a chance to have you see me in my full raw uncut glory. Normally it's when very late at night, once I'm done with everything that I do for the day, or very early in the morning in this case. I'm visiting Australia at the moment, going through a lot of spiritual awakenings and spiritual journeys, and I love it. I'm loving it so much. It's been so healing, so raw, so vulnerable, so soul awakening. I feel like this lotus flower that's opening one petal at a time. And I'm in a full space of authenticity and vulnerability, especially in these raw uncut series. So this is the time where you, as my spiritual family, get to kind of come together, ask me questions on our Facebook page and our Facebook group, which, by the way, you can join and get access to all of these questions and answers, because sometimes I do answer on the threads that you post on. Also, you can hear the thunder outside. Another fun part about raw uncut stuff, we don't cut anything. We don't edit anything. So you get to hear this giant thunderstorm that's happening here in Australia right outside of my door. So that's fun. Yeah, I hope that we get to enjoy that together. And if it disturbs you, I apologize in advance. It's a part of being raw and uncut. Yay! So basically, at the Facebook group for our spiritual family, and we are a spiritual family, we're not just a Facebook group. We are helping each other through so many things right now in our spiritual awakenings. The whole group is about spiritual awakenings and about accessing your gifts and connecting with source within you. For those of you who are just kind of curious about spirituality, it's a great place to start. And for those of you who are really well on your path, it's also a great place to start. And a great place to finish and be permanently if you want. We'd love to have you no matter what level you feel that you are in your spiritual advancement or lack thereof. Doesn't matter. We're all in this together. We are all awakening spiritually together. So I'd be happy to have you. And if you want to join that, it is at facebook.com/groups/aura reader. If you need more personal one-on-one time with me, you can find me at www.aurareader.com. Okay. At which place I create free processes for spiritual awakenings and for integration processes, inner child work, spiritual inner child work processes, shamanic journey processes that you can do either with anyone that you want, not just me. I'm not trying to sell you. You know, of course, I'd be happy to facilitate and hold space for you during any type of shamanic process or healing integration process, but if not, anyone that you trust, absolutely fine. That's why my processes are there for everyone for free on my blog. This is not me trying to sell you anything. Unless you just go through it, it doesn't work for you, or if you prefer to have me facilitate, then of course, I would be absolutely honored. But the processes are free on my blog and on my YouTubes for a reason, so that everyone has access to spirituality, not just those of us who can afford to hire a facilitator. Okay. But yeah, these raw uncut video series, you'll notice them spotted throughout my YouTube, so you can also have access to them in my newsletters, as well as all of the exclusive content that I don't post publicly are in my newsletters. Dates, a lot of you have asked about who I'm going to be channeling next. I don't tell that to anyone except for in my newsletter. You get advance notice of that, and I have already told you guys in my most recent newsletter. So surprise, surprise, we're going to be channeling someone here in a couple of weeks. And I'm so excited about who we're going to be channeling. So you can get access to all of that information about who I'm channeling and how to get to that particular Spreecast channel, and how to, it is free. My channelings are free to the public, and they eventually end up being posted on YouTube. But if you want to be a part of our live channelings, they're at Spreecast.com. And I give out information on how to get to them in the newsletter, which is also free. Goes straight to your email once a week. So if you'd like to sign up for that, post in the comments below, and we'll have management get back to you and just give you the link so that you can join it. Or you can also join it from my contact page right there on the landing page of aurareader.com. Right there at the bottom, it's where it says contact. Right there, there's a subscription, an email subscription link. Okay, you can get access to all that information. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to start reading you the questions that you guys have asked me. And in part one that I published last night of the Raw Uncut series, we did part one of a series called All About Extra-Terrestrials. And it went into detail about all your questions, and we're going to continue with your questions today. I'm just going to be reading them right from the Facebook group. And let's begin. We're continuing with part 2, all about extraterrestrials. Since you guys are so innately curious, and I love it. You're so conscientious. This is what I love about all of you. Let's see what your questions are. I'm scrolling down through the questions that I already went through. What kind of galactic disagreements occur, and what are the effects on Earth? There are many galactic disagreements. I don't know where to start. The oldest being a relative term because how source projects is very nonlinear. But in terms of human reference points, the oldest would be the Lyran reptilian battles and attacks, where many of us are originally from Lyra. Most of the sentient beings that are on Earth are originally from Lyra. And 11th dimensional beings, they had to leave planet Lyra after their capital city, Avalon. If that's a trigger word, that's a topic for you. That's why you need to do your research on Avalon. So Avalon was attacked by a different force of various different grays and non-sentient beings, reptilians normally, a good while ago, and many races of Lyrans fled, the star system, and they went in a direction of Pleiades, various places in Pleiades, the Hyades star cluster within the Taurus constellation. That's where I'm from, in my galactic origin, by the way. I'm a Lyran feline being. Yeah. So, listen to the rain. Can you hear it? Sounds so beautiful. Anyway, many went to Sirius B in that star system. Those of you who are Sirians, you went there. Arcturus, Arcturians went split from that direction. Some went to Andromeda. That's also part of my Akashic records, and in my soul braid, I'm also from Andromeda. Various different directions, Earth, Lemuria on Earth, so many different expressions, so many different places that you went, but you basically had to start over, and then you originally went back to Lyra later, once the war was over. But there for a while, you weren't winning. So how that affected Earth is that Lemurians, which are an ancient, elder race of Lyran, they left Lyra and they started Lemuria on Earth. So when you think about Atlantis and that lost civilization, that is a connection to Lemuria on Earth. And Lemuria was a land-based, initially at least, a land-based system on Earth. Okay, and Lemurians were some of the original creators of humans from that point on. So, but insofar as what's going on now, there's a bit of a reptilian involvement with Earth beings that is going on currently, has been going on for quite a while. Reptilians have a particular belief that Earth is tagged for extinction. They've been watching Earth for as long as we've been here, and they have noticed that we are killing the planet and killing ourselves. That's their perception anyway. So they have tagged us for extinction. Granted, it's not just about that. How that affects Earth is about your alignment. How intergalactic war affects Earth and affects you personally is about your alignment. Even though that is happening, that only is going to be affecting those of you who are aligned towards specific core beliefs that are fear-based and based upon feeling disempowered. That's one of the reasons why I created those processes about or alchemy, transmutation, and inner child work processes and any healing processes, so that you can change your alignment to no longer feel disempowered, trapped, unliberated, controlled, any of those things that align with war. You can change that, okay? It can be done. So I'm not aligned to that at all. Like I don't even, as being an extrasensory person who sees into the ether, I see reptilians all the time. They do not bother me. So I would like to see you to get to that place where you're just really, really not aligned to it. And you can. That's why I'm here, to help you get to that place. Okay, let's move on to another question. Let me scroll over here. Is there a canine ET race like there is a feline? And if so, who are they and where are they? They are, a type of being that is a race from Alpha Centauri. They are alpha-draconians. Um, they have some that look like canines and some that actually look like bears. Humans just don't particularly have a reference point for exactly what that might look like, but they look a little bit like, I don't know if any of you have ever seen the movie Wolverine. They look a little bit like that, kind of bearish, doggish, something-ish. I only say ish because, like I said, we humans don't have reference points for these things. This is not really an animal that we have on Earth, but they're not animals at all. We only make reference to them as looking like animals because we have no reference point to really explain what they might look like otherwise. Yeah. So yeah, they are Alpha Centauri. All right. And they are sentient, incredibly wise, incredibly loyal, incredibly protective, all those sort of things. I'm going to have to turn off my volume to my iPad because it's going beep, beep, beep. One of those things I forgot to do. It's on mute. Why is it beeping? Who knows? Let's go to the next question. What's the best way to communicate with soul braids, please? Okay. I'm so glad you asked that because the best way you would communicate with your soul braid is to understand that you are not disconnected from them to begin with. The perceived notion of fragmentation and separation only becomes reality when you are aligned. I'm going to have to hit power on this iPad because it's just going to keep going. And I can hear those notifications even though I have muted it. There you go. The perceived notion of separation and fragmentation begins the moment you create a core belief that makes you feel that way. That causes that, you know. So change your belief systems to where you understand that you are source, you are not fragmented, you are integrated, that aspects are a part of you. So if you want to learn more about what soul braids are and how source projects into us, you can find that video. I talked about it a little bit yesterday in the All About Terrestrials Raw Uncut version, part 1. And we talk about it much more significantly and in full depth over on my Spreecast channel. Spreecast.com. Type in Pamela Aaralyn. My last name is spelled Aaralyn, and it is. I'm there under the video called Origins, Part 1, not Part 2. If you want to know more about extraterrestrials and their specifics, you can look at Part 2. But in Part 1, that is where I talk about soul braids, walk-ins, and how source projects. So regarding soul braids, you come in as a human, if this represents your human body, and then fractals of source project into you. Say, here's a soul braid, here's a soul braid, here's a soul braid, and here's a soul braid. They all come in based upon your pre-birth attention. They can come in together. That normally doesn't happen. They can come in one at a time. That's normally what happens. And as you integrate these perceived notions of separation caused by trauma, you integrate these aspects. When you integrate these aspects, then the whole perception of feeling separated, you understand that they were there to begin with. It was only your perception. And then they braid, and you feel more one. You feel more whole. Okay? That's why I call it a soul braid, because your human aspects braid with your higher self aspects, which happen to be extraterrestrial in notion. Okay, I know that sounds a little woo-woo for some of you, but I'm actually not so much of a woo-woo person. I try to explain it as much of a logical facet possible, but we're just not all the way human. Just call it like it is. There's a reason why most of us feel like we don't belong here, because we're not from here. So that too is explained in Origins Part 1 and Origins Part 2 on my Spreecast channel. So the best way to communicate with them, to answer your question, is the same way that you would communicate with yourself. Ask a question, listen to the answer in your mind. Ask a question, feel the answer in your heart. Ask a question, and the most important thing is don't dissociate from the soul braid as an extraneous portion of you. It is explained in my YouTube called Spirit Guides, all about spirit guides, which is also on this channel. You can access that information for free. Is explained in that video that there are some subdominic spirit guides that aren't part of your soul fractals. They're just watchers and angelic sources and different types of extraterrestrial beings that are extraneous from you. But they're much more, the more important ones are the aspects of you that are your higher self, your higher selves. So those are your, what I call dominant spirit guides. They are you. That is why I tell people constantly that when you're trying to talk to your spirit guides, start with talking to them by going within. This is why I love transcendental meditation. I love Kriya Yoga. I love all forms of shamanic journeying. I love dream time. All of those things. You can set the intent. I discussed that as well in my video here called Psychic Development. How you can go into the dream time and how you set your intention in the beginning. And if you set your intention in the beginning by saying, I would like to speak to my spirit guide in my dream time, and I would like to remember, that particular intent sets the notice. It's set within the hypnagogic state. That's very, very important. If you, like, in between that state when you're asleep and awake, there's that little space where you're in where you're like, you could be woken up, you know, if someone called your name, or you could continue to drift off into sleep very easily. That's called the hypnagogic state. So the hypnagogic state, when you're in that state, you don't have to meditate to get there. Just get really tired and go to bed. It's not a big woo-woo thing. Just say in your mind, I would like to speak to my spirit guide, and I would like to remember it. And you will meet them. You will meet either normally a dominant spirit guide, which is a fractal of yourself, is what you will meet during the dream state. Do you hear that rain? It is amazing. We haven't gotten rain in so long, like at least a few weeks. I'm so excited. In Utah, we really don't get rain all the time, so I'm like, whoa, rain. See, that's woo-woo to me. Aliens aren't woo-woo. So they're just part of you. So let's go on and ask another question. Answer another question, pardon me. Okay. Can you describe their looks and what they really look like? Yeah, that would take me all day. You can find that on my Spreecast channel. Again, Spreecast.com. Look up Pamela Aaralyn, Aaralyn, and go to Origins Part 2. Okay. So that will explain most of the dominant races that we are aware of. You know, it's about 10 or 11 of them that I go through. But generally speaking, I'll give you an idea. You know, the Zeta Reticulans, the Greys, which are very popular in terms of like what you see in the movies and what humans talk about the most, the Greys and the Reptilians, and what humans know of as the aliens. Those are the ones that have sort of a non-sentient value, who humans claim to be the most, quote, harmful. I don't know about that. I'm kind of 50-50 about that. I feel like that depends upon your alignment. If you're aligned towards being disempowered and harmed, then yes, you can attract that. It does happen. Alien abductions do indeed happen, but it's so much easier just to focus on changing your alignment and staying in a positive space so that that doesn't occur. I don't get that at all, ever. So that's because I just don't feel aligned to it. I don't feel like I'm being attacked. I'm like, yeah, okay, a Gray, another reptilian, hi, hello, bye-bye, busy, go away, whatever. But they're non-sentient, and humans tend to misunderstand what non-sentient means, and they tend to, if they're not able to form an empathic connection, humans tend to automatically feel like they can't trust that being, because humans are very sentient in nature and they operate from their heart centers, so they don't feel an empathic connection with another being. Then they kind of, you know, push it away and say, that might be bad, you know, because humans are kind of in this duality, good versus bad and light versus dark, and this place where it's like that. The more you get away from that, the more you're going to align towards positive extraterrestrial beings, not the ones that are going to be trying to, you know, bug you. So that's kind of a misconceived notion, but I just kind of am ranting. I need more tea. Okay, so Greys. Zeta Reticulans in particular, they look like what you see on the movies. They're tiny, they're small, they're slight. You don't see reproductive parts. They don't look male or female. They're very androgynous. They don't have hair. They're completely bald all over. Kind of funny looking. Standard quintessential look for what you would think, you know, the status quo for what you see on the movies for what you think alien looks like. So that's where those movies got that, is because that is true. They do look like that. And they, like I said, I'm about 50-50 on this. Some of them are here because they need to, not because they necessarily want to cause harm, but humans can perceive it that way, particularly if they're aligned towards feeling disempowered, as I was stating earlier. But they're here for research. They're here for scientific purposes. They are here to reproduce because they have evolved to the extent that they do not have reproductive organs. So they have to harvest human DNA in order to utilize that to be able to reproduce and carry on their race. And if you're aligned towards feeling disempowered and attacked and you have fear-based alignments, then yes, you will definitely perceive what they're doing as bad and harmful. Okay? So I can't stress that enough. Change your alignment, please. The whole prison planet thing, even though it's true, I'm not aligned to that at all. I astral travel all the time. I'm in the ether. I'm in the dream time. I'm traveling to different dimensions. And I really, really rarely have alignment towards beings that are trying to come get me or trying to, do something harmful towards me. I literally am like, here's my DNA. Go use it. Don't care. Here you go. Don't care. Um, so basically speaking, with grays, that's what they look like. With reptilians, they look different. The majority of them look like a bipedal lizard. There's a lot of scaliness to the skin. They don't deal with sun very well. They don't deal with our sun here very well. They're natural shapeshifters, so what humans say about the eyes being a little shifting in and out, you'll see that a lot in reptilians, but you can see that in any type of extraterrestrial, by the way. Shapeshifters are within all of us. That's not necessarily negative. I, as a Hyadian, sometimes people will look at my eyes and be like, you look, your eyes are moving and shifting a lot today, and then sometimes they're like, no, you're kind of more your human self today, and that's natural because we're all soul breaks. We all have fractals of different beings within us. But reptilians in general, they're tall. They look like bipedal lizards. They have big eyes, a little bit lighter, a little bit larger, lighter, brown or green normally. Um, yeah, they look like lizards. I don't know what to tell you other than that. What humanity puts out there in movies and on the internet is pretty much true about what most reptilians look like, but most are bipedal. Some type of reptilians, such as alpha-draconians, look like that, and then add some giant bat-like wings, and then you have an alpha-draconian. So they don't look much different. Just add some bat-like wings with some veins and some ligaments in there and everything. They look like large bats that also are lizards. So they look a little strange. In terms of Pleiadians look blonde. They have very light skin, very fair skin, perfect skin, clear skin, blue eyes, softer features, tall and thin normally. Procyon, which are a race of Pleiadians, look blonde or red hair, or sandy blonde, and they have light blue or very light green eyes, sometimes hazel. They are a little bit more voluptuous and curvy and really into the curves. Their females are a little bit larger in the buxom, a little bit more curves, a little bit larger, curvy and beautiful. And they look wonderful. Let me see. Arcturians look there's many different types of Arcturians. There's some elemental beings that are Arcturians that look like sort of, they don't look like a being at all. They look like wisps of air. Some of them, there's elemental beings, or wisps of smoke, and they come in that. They come in orbs as well. There's orbs that you're seeing floating around that can normally be Arcturian elementals. There are some green ones in particular there's a race that's tiny and green, and they look a little bit like what humans know as leprechauns. Look a little bit like that. And they're actually funny and cute. They like to laugh. They have a lot of celebratory energy. So there's that type of race of them. And then there's some tall, light green ones that look they look a little bit like reptilians, except they aren't. They don't have scaly skin, but they have that look in their eyes with a lot of the shape shifting going on and a lot of that. That's not necessarily bad at all. They are just wise elders. This is more of the rare, type of Arcturian that are the wise elders. Um, the Arcturians in general they have high cheekbones. They have more bony structure to their face, more of a projection of a defined jawline and high cheekbones. The ones that project into humans look amazing. They look like movie stars. So they're very beautiful, both in human form and in their elder forms. Okay. Hyadians. The male version of a Hyadian looks like what in the movies has been shown to you as the Avatar. If you've seen the Avatar series, they are generally blue or blue-gray, bluish-gray, light blue, kind of a pale blue in their skin tone. They have kind of a pointy-ish heart-shaped face where the larger portion of their forehead is large up here and then it points down like that. um, that's the male ones anyway, and they tend to have their hair longer. Even the males have their hair longer. They are the original alchemist and shamanic type of beings, in our galaxy. So that's my particular origin anyway. So I know a lot about how they look like, but the males look like that, and they have large cat type of eyes. Okay, and some cat features. Sometimes their nose will look a little bit like whiskers and cat nose. And they are athletic. They're normally not very thin. They are athletic in build. And even the ones that project into humans, we too are athletic in build or slightly larger. We have a little bit more muscular component. People get a little bit surprised by me as a Hyadian projection of a human. I have a lot of strength. So I do a lot of things that in my life that men can do. Like I can lift heavy things and fix cars and do things that require a lot of muscular strength. And people look at me and they're like, okay, you look athletic, you're not thin, but you don't look that strong, like you just picked that up. It's a Hyadian facet. I'm very, very strong, like Amazonian strength. It's ridiculous. I can pick up logs, and I've excavated land by myself before, things like that. It's not egoic. I'm just incredibly confident about my strength and happy about it. One of the things that I'm like, yeah, do that. I love that. Hyadians are incredibly earthy. We love Earth. We were some of the original beings on Earth, some of the original creators of humanity. So we have a hand in genetics. We enjoy medicine, plant medicine in particular, not allopathic medicine normally. I tried my hand at that. It wasn't so fun. Dropped out of school for that very quickly. So, but plant medicine, yeah. Yeah, we're into that kind of naturopathics, Ayurvedic medicines, anything that's natural in nature. So the female Hyadians look a lot like that, like the male Hyadians as well, except that um, they look a lot more. Sometimes they have a little bit more lioness type features, like some of the ancient beings in Egypt that ancient Egyptologists talk about, and mythologists talk about as well, because as we know, myth comes from somewhere. It comes from extraterrestrial beings. It is true most of the time. So Sekhmet, which is one of my dominant spirit guides, she looks like that, except she has the whole lioness head. Yeah, human body lioness head. That's what the elders in the Hyadian race, that's what we look like. Okay. Hyadians have a tendency to have their eyes shift. Like I was saying, sometimes my eyes look very light brown. Today they look green. I don't know if you can see them. Looking up. Can you see them today? Raw, uncut fun. See, they look very green today. So, but most of the time they look a lighter brown, and they change constantly. Even though I don't have hazel eyes, biologically speaking, my eyes are born brown and they're always brown, but they change in their color. They're green, they're light brown, they're dark brown. Sometimes they have gray around the edges, sometimes they have gold around the edges, or a very light blue around the edges. Hyadians we have very strange eyes, and that's the first thing you'll notice. What other races can I tell you about? Alpha Centaurians, we discussed that earlier. They look a little bit like Wolverines. That's one of the races anyway. Chalcedians, or Chalcetians, however you want to call them, they look like they have like bronze skin. They look like warriors. They're slight, they're not tall, but they are muscular in their stature. They are very defensive type of warriors, not offensive at all. They prefer peace, but they get attacked a lot, so they have to be defensive. They are the spiritual warriors of the galaxy, the best way to do war, if there is a such thing. They don't make war about duality. They make it about something they have to do absolutely when only they have to do it. But they're wise and they're quiet and they don't want to hurt you, but if you come at them or you come at their family, they absolutely will. So they're like the mama bears of the star system. Don't mess with my cubs. So let me see what else I can tell you. But yeah, they're golden bronze skin, not very much hair. It's hard to have a human reference point for what I can say, but they're slight and they're muscular. bronzish skin. They look like gods. They're beautiful, and they have normally like light brown or golden type of eyes. Um, what other types of races can I tell you about? Andromedans generally look blonde hair. They have two different races. Three actually. One of the dominant races is blonde hair, light skin, blue eyes or green eyes, and they look thin, or the blondes look very thin. They have another race that is dark black hair, dark brown eyes, very light skin, and those look a little bit more muscular and tall. So they look like athletes, like runners. They have that kind of build. But otherwise, they look human. They have another race that is a bird type of race, that their bodies look human and light blue. And they have animal type heads. Normally, they look like either a bird or a cat, because they're offspin of the Lyran feline race. So it's like Andromedans and Lyran felines. Made some cute babies. Yeah, raw uncut stuff is fun, huh? So yeah, they look bird-like. They have a massive, massive wingspan. One of my soul braids is an Andromedan, and so birds are very attracted to me, and I have bird spirit animals, some major bird spirit animals, and a lot of times in my dream time I show up as a bird, a very large bird. So that is why, that's what the bird beings look like in the Andromedan race. So we're going to save the rest for part 3. This was a lot of fun, but I don't want to keep you much longer because it's already been 30 minutes. Again, you can find me at aurareader.com or facebook.com/groups/aurareader if you ever want to ask me questions for this series. Okay, I look forward to meeting you, and thank you. I feel so honored to be a part of this journey with you. So have a beautiful day. Namaste.